Yeah, I was given the link to last month's meeting, so I need the meeting link for today so I can resend it out to all the attendees.
Hey, good morning, Scott.
Morning, Judge.
If that's the worst thing that happens to us today, we're blessed.
Yeah,
Let's see here.
Gina will be joining for Superintendent Parker.
Okay, yeah.
So it sounds like I've got Mayor Jenkins with us, and then we've got Gina.
Good morning.
So calling the roll, let the record reflect that Mayor Jenkins, Judge Joe Pat Covington, and Gina Amos was present as a proxy for Superintendent Billy Parker. Any other questions about that? We have a quorum. This is the official Revenue Commission meeting for Wednesday, May 22nd. It's amazing. We are barreling through May. With that said, then we will move to number 3, approval of minutes from the last meeting. And those minutes were shared via email. And any questions or comments related to those as presented?
So moved.
I'll second
Have
that.
a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. We move forward. Scott, we'll turn it over to you for the new report on electronic payment summary.
Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I get a monthly report from the current credit card vendor we're using, and been wanting to put this report together for a while and finally had time to do it. So for the month of April 2024, we had $300,000 in electronic payments made, and I've got a little breakdown here for you on that. 99% of it came in via the web. Only 1% of that happened at our point of sale terminal here in the office. So definitely people are using the website and using the portal to make electronic payments. Of that $300,000, 88% of it was net profit, which is not surprising since the April 15th filing deadline for net profits is included in obviously these payments. About 12% is payroll, and there were about $300 in regulatory fees we collect on behalf of the city as well. Also, another breakdown of that $300,000, 95% of it is e-checks, only 5% is credit cards. That's because the e-checks are a flat $1.95 fee, whether you owe us $50 or $50,000. So that's a flat fee, whereas it's a percentage based on the type of card that you use. And that $16,000 is broken down like this. So 30% of it was MasterCard, 66 Visa, 4% Discover, and 1% American Express. So every month moving forward, this would not normally be a main agenda item. It'll be in the general discussion because it requires no commissioner action. But since it's new, I wanted to show it to you, show you how it works. And you can see here we've got each of the months up through April. Of course, we don't have the May or June data, but there is an annual roll-up, so you can see the cumulative numbers here. We've had, of the money we've collected so far, 1.3 million, or 98% of it, is via electronic payments. And then you can, of the 1.3 million, you can see all the breakdowns. And then the same thing here with credit and debit cards for the year. 98% of our payments that have come in electronically have come through the web, only 2% using the terminal. And then it's a 5842 is where we are right now in terms of the net profit to payroll ratio. 94% of it, again, are e-checks. It's always going to be in the 90% range. And then there's the 4 breakdowns on the 4 credit cards that we accept. So if you ever want to see where we are during any fiscal year, you can just go to this roll up and see how much has come in electronically. And then if there's any single month you want to look at, each tab, there'll be 12 tabs, one for each month, and then one for the current fiscal year roll up. So just some good information to have, and it's pretty quick and easy for me to put together. Any questions on any of that?
No, thanks for that update. Any other questions, comments? We'll move now to number 5, lockbox vendor discussion.
Okay, the next 1, 2, 3, 4. The next number 5, 6, 7, and 8. These are just going to be verbal discussions and updates. Nothing to show on these. We've reached a kind of a crossroads here with this lockbox vendor. I'm going to let John go into some detail here because he's kind of been at the forefront of this as our IT coordinator. But basically what it comes down to is today we're going to be asking you to make a motion that we give our notice and sever the relationship with the bank on this. They're just not able to provide what they initially told us they could in the RFPs and the demos. We've tried working with them. It's quite, a large bank like that, it's really more bureaucratic than government is sometimes in trying to work with them. But they're just not going to be able to give us the efficiencies that we would need to justify what we will ultimately be paying them. Thus far, we've not paid them anything because we've just been sending them samples of tax returns to try to get them to get it correct. And it's just not worked out. And now that we have leased this commercial grade scanner and John has really taken the lead on that, and we've got that up and running, and we're it's working very, very well. Essentially, we're at the point now where we can do what the a lot of what the lockbox vendor was going to do for us, and what would ultimately be an estimate of $2,000 to $2,300 a month paying the bank. We're basically paying $173 a month to rent a commercial grade scanner and doing it ourselves. We're already digitizing a lot of our electronic documents. It's going very, very quickly. And I'll let John give a few more talking points on this, and then we can open it up for discussion.
Sure, absolutely. So initially, the whole purpose of the lockbox was to eliminate the mail coming in, try and simplify some of our processes, free up our analysts' time to really dig into the tax gap. And what we have discovered is that getting the mail out of here, some of the issues we're having with them, their solution was actually just to send it back to us. So that defeats the whole purpose. Freeing up our time, Tammy did a couple test runs with this, and what she found was it was actually more time consuming to go through all the different electronic documents, try and get the information we needed out of it. And after multiple attempts to make some changes to how they were processing it, it still wasn't quite where we needed to even get it to the point where we'd be able to take some of this time off of the analyst's hands. We would still have to have them go back and do even more data entry on their end, which just ultimately would leave room for error on their part and cause more issues. So that was some of the biggest issues we were seeing with the lockbox. On the flip side of that, with the new scanner, some of the things we've been able to do, like Scott was talking about, is digitize the accounts we have. We've actually managed to, within the past week, digitize close to 1,800 files. And that's just running through the scanner, setting up various programs within that scanner to save the documents in a certain order and just upload them straight into our filing system. We're also looking at capabilities to receive payments, scan them, and just import those directly in without having any kind of analyst touching them, reviewing them. It would flag any kind of issues that the program would perceive. Rather than that, it would just go straight in and be processed, and the analyst wouldn't even have to touch it. So we could potentially look at saving 45 to 50 man hours a month just by doing this.
Yeah, so I mean, the more we looked at it, and we've actually been having these discussions internally back to the beginning of the year, and per our treasury agreement, either one of us, the bank could say this isn't working out, or we can say this isn't working out with 30 days notice. I just can't see moving forward with this and spending more man hours trying to get something that we know is never going to be right. And ultimately, if we did get it to where it was somewhat workable, to pay this bank, $2,000, $2,300 a month, depending on the volume in any given month, when we can do it ourselves with our existing staff and the temp admin that we have now, and this scanner for $173 a month in a lease payment, it's kind of a no-brainer. So that's where we are with this. If anybody has any other questions.
So Scott, yes. Does anyone else have any other questions?
So,
I'll make a motion to give 30 days notice that we will no longer require those services.
I second.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, General Counsel search update.
Yes, Judge, thank you. Well, first of all, on the general counsel search, I've enlisted Devin Golden to help us with this. I thought it was good to have a person on the panel to help us with this who is an attorney and who has worked in at least one of our jurisdictions here. Her input has been invaluable thus far, so I appreciate that. It was very helpful. Essentially, where we are is we had a good response to the posting that we put up in April last month. But we really didn't find the experience we were looking for. And we talked a lot about that when we had the meeting with Devin and our panel, who will ultimately be interviewing the applicants. So what we've done is we've modified the job description a little bit to emphasize the experience that we're looking for. We're going to repost it soon, but with more of a targeted approach. I actually have a contact at the Kentucky Bar Association, and that was something that Devin recommended. I followed up with the director at Louisville Metro. She's also an attorney, and said that would be a good idea. Maybe even the Lexington Bar Association as well, because probably our ideal candidate is going to be someone who's working in the private sector as an attorney now, preferably with collections experience, but they're looking for more work-life balance, which we can provide with a 35-hour work week, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, no nights, no weekends, in an exempt position, comp time accruals, things of that nature. Perhaps a single parent who's struggling with, what a private sector attorney has to struggle with. So we're going to do a little bit more targeted approach. I've actually been in contact with the Kentucky Bar Association yesterday about what that process is. And in addition to the normal avenues, when we repost, that we'll be using that as well. And perhaps the Lexington Bar Association, maybe even Louisville, because actually one of the applicants that we got was from Louisville as well. So, in case someone's looking to make a move and maybe move elsewhere in the state, take that as an option too. So that's basically the plan. And as we discussed with Devin, we believe the pay that's out there is competitive. That's not the issue. And a lot of the people had good credentials, but just not a lot of experience. So, and we want to get this right. This is an important, I've told you for years, this is an important mission critical position, and we want to get it right. So we're going to take our time and get it right. So no commissioner action on this. We just wanted to give you an update, see if you had any further discussion or questions for us on this.
I think it's wise.
Scott.
Yes, sir.
How once you update the job description, how long are you going to post this position out before you all start the process of actually filtering through it and then actually interviewing?
Well, usually they post for 10 days. If we don't get the quantity that we want, sometimes we've posted positions for a second 10 days as well. So we'll kind of leave that up in the air. Now that we're past April 15th, we'll be able to sit down pretty quickly. A lot of it's going to depend on Devin's schedule when she can sit down with us and review the applicants and discuss which ones we're going to call for interviews. So probably pretty quickly after it closes. With the Paycom app that you have there with the city of Georgetown, it's pretty easy to communicate with these folks directly via email, these applicants.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Scott, we can move on now to 7, AG legal opinion update.
Okay, if you'll recall, back in January, with your approval, Jessica submitted a request for legal opinion to the Attorney General's office regarding whether or not we should post a directory of non-compliant taxpayers to help us with our compliance efforts. A couple of weeks ago, I received a call from one of the assistant attorney generals to kind of give me a heads up that they are going to move forward with issuing a legal opinion, and he kind of laid out the details for me. But of course, I'm not an attorney, and I've never played one on TV. So I quickly enlisted Devin again, and she set up a meeting with this assistant attorney general so that all 3 jurisdictions could go through it. And it was Devin, it was Cam Culbertson, and Josh Salisbury, who's with Sturgill Turner, who represents the school board. They were all in agreement that the opinion should go forward for the final opinion to be issued. And that'll give us the tool we need to make a decision about if we're going to move forward with that, and if so, what it's going to look like based on what the Attorney General says we can and cannot do. So I don't know what the ETA is, other than Cam and Devin and Mr. Salisbury were on a virtual call with this Assistant Attorney General, so that we had 3 attorneys representing all 3 jurisdictions going over it with the Assistant Attorney General, and they were all satisfied with what they heard. And as soon as it comes out at a future meeting, once we receive it, we'll also try to schedule a time when Devin can be at our monthly meeting, and we'll go over it in detail.
Sounds like a plan. Any other questions?
No.
Number 8, repeal of occupational license tax discussion.
Yes, I know. I think it was a week or two ago. I sent you all the link to the email with where President Stivers on February 9th at a Chamber of Commerce dinner stated that he would like the General Assembly to get rid of the occupational license tax. I know you all saw that. I did want to follow up that a lot of us, and this was a big discussion last week, our State Tax Association spring seminar was at CAECO in Frankfurt last Friday, and obviously this was a topic of discussion. Shelley Hampton, the governmental affairs director, was there and talking about the legislative session as a whole, including this particular piece. And we've been crunching some numbers here, and in order for a 1% sales tax to replace occupational tax here in Scott County, we would need to have $6 billion, billion with a B, in taxable sales revenue attributable to Scott County to replace that $60 million we collect. That's very unlikely. The only way to know for sure is to have the Kentucky Department of Revenue tell us how much tax sales revenue is currently attributable to Scott County. And I have already made that request pursuant to our exchange of information agreement with the Kentucky Department of Revenue. So I do not have a response yet. When I do at a future meeting, I'll tell you what that response is if we get one. Shelley shared that in prior discussions that she's had on this issue, that the Department of Revenue has indicated they cannot provide that information as far as how much sales tax revenue is generated in Scott County, which of course begs the obvious question, how then would they ever pay us the 1% sales tax if they can't identify, how the sales tax, to which county it is attributed. So I don't think the numbers work on this. Of course, there'll be a lot of discussion on this. There's a lot of discussion already going on. We'll keep a close eye on it. Another thing Shelley brought up that was of great concern last Friday was that in the discussions they've had about it, we said, well, there's the cash flow issue. Well, how often would the Department of Revenue remit the money to the local jurisdictions? And she said they were told quarterly. So, you're currently getting disbursements from the Revenue Commission twice a month. So you'd be going from 22 payments to 4 in a year. And I'm assuming, especially for the city and county, that would pose some pretty serious cash flow issues as well. So I don't know what the president of the Senate is thinking, but I can tell you that the numbers don't add up here. And I don't know of any. I know there's a lot of talk about consumption taxes versus productivity taxes, but I can't see how any of those consumption taxes are going to come close to generating what this year will be $60 million in occupational license tax revenue for the city, county, and school board.
That is a whole mountain of things to consider and moving parts, and I applaud you reaching out to get a number that we could have as a frame of reference for discussion, and we'll just have to keep our ears open and kind of try to stay on top of this. And I know Mayor Jenkins involved with League of Cities. I'm involved with CAECO. We'll stay on top of it.
Well, in my talks with some of the people, even from KLC and other cities, we have our mayors forum once a month. They're concerned because the fact of the matter is, a lot of small cities depends on this revenue, and we're one of those that depends on this revenue, and it becomes a difficult task to run a city when you go from the payments of 22 payments to 4. And for us trying to collaborate with or do funding for different projects we're going to do or whatever we're going to do, it becomes tough to do. And from what I've been told, that I think Stivers' idea is he wants to do like what they do in Tennessee and Alabama and Ohio, Indiana, and get away with that and just do away with it. But you're going to have a high sales tax which people don't understand. You go from what we're doing now to a 9%, which I'm sure that's probably where most of those land. That tax and Scott, what you just said, kind of adds to our fear that they didn't know how much money are we going to get in anyway from what they should be paying us right now.
Yeah.
So if they don't know that, then I'm going to trust them that they're going to pay me quarterly. Government is slow. So, and now it becomes to a point where it would really cripple us as a city, and I'm sure the county and the school board, of doing business and the people who suffer from this will be our citizens. And we're going to keep up with that. And I'm going to keep advocating that, leave it alone. It's nothing wrong with it. Leave it alone. So nobody's complaining about it. So that's my soapbox. So I'm moving on.
No, you're right. You're right, Mayor. And I'll add this, that the video that you watched happened on February 9th. Well, February 28th was a KLC board meeting. And of course, I'm COLA's representative on that board. And at that meeting, in the past, what President Stivers is talking about is a constitutional amendment to give them because right now their hands are somewhat tied. And based on this statement, I think that's a good thing. But they'd like to amend the Constitution. We were, the cities and counties, I think we're pursuing that and have been for many, many years in the hopes that we would get more revenue options because we're kind of locked into occupational tax, property tax, and maybe some restaurant taxes, a few consumption taxes. We don't have a lot of options. And so that was trying to expand that, but it's turned into, well, we don't want to talk about what we're going to give you. We want to talk about what we're going to take away from you. And so what happened at KLC when they had those legislative issues, and I know they do this at KCO too, Judge, our position was to support it as a board. Well, we downgraded that on February 28th because of what was said on the 9th. We downgraded that to understudy. So we're no longer supporting that changing of the Constitution, amending the constitutional section 181 that would require that to happen before anything like this could go forward. And then, of course, too, that also requires it to go on the ballot. And I think that can only happen in the biennial budget years. I'm not sure about that. But, even if the legislature wanted to do this, it would still have to go on the ballot. And another piece of good news Shelley shared last week was that there are members in the General Assembly that are very aware of the concerns of the city and county. And one in particular has told them, look, this will bankrupt cities and counties. You cannot do this. So there are people that support the local government position on this. And I just wanted everybody to know as soon as I knew what was out there, and we will all be keeping a close eye on it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate that, you all. Number 9, general discussion.
Okay. All right. So no new projects. Let me pull that up for you. So again, the last KBI we had approved was back in December. We had these two we talked about in February that were just training grants to these training consortiums that really has no impact on occupational tax. So no change there. That was attached to the email I sent last Friday. KJRA, this report here, this is the exact same report I showed last month, except it says March instead of February. So the employer sends this out. So the April payroll, I just got the new documentation about a week ago from the employer, and we will start making these payments again this month in May for the April payroll, which starts their new fiscal year. So no change there other than the month that's on that. Individual compliance efforts, I believe that is over here. So for the month of April, Tammy, our senior auditor, collected, and this is outside, not just what we processed, but accounts we've pursued that have been delinquent or in some way non-compliant. 64% of that was payroll. John is still, working some of his accounts for now. 6,000, which was 85% payroll, and Denny Rice, our tax compliance analyst, he wins the prize this month with 13,700, which again is 61% payroll. And there was one account Jessica had been pursuing for a while that also came in April, 8,500, and 100% of that was payroll. So April is usually a lower month in terms of these kinds of efforts because we have a mountain of tax returns we're trying to get through due to the April 15th filing deadline, but still a solid showing there for some of our compliance work by our team here.
No, much appreciated. And I like the little updates.
Good.
No.
A question to you, Scott. What do these people win for, do they win a gift card? Do they get something here? I mean, are you throwing them a bone or something for their hard work or?
Well, we're gonna have a cookout in June. We do that usually every summer, and I buy all the meats, the dogs and the burgers and whatever, and then it's kind of a potluck after that. So, we have various celebrations, but presenting it to you all and getting that feedback, that's kind of a prize in and of itself. That's a reward.
Well, I'm glad that you see that you're taking care of those folks because we really, it's like me in the mayor's office, and Judge Coven can testify this. We know who really runs the stuff, and it's not us. So there you go.
Exactly. And I'm going to show you some big numbers here in a minute, and just I'll piggyback off of you there, Mayor, and say that I'm not the one that makes that happen. I'm just the guy with the big mouth that tells you about it. So
There you go.
No, much appreciated.
Yes.
Okay, so the monthly collection stats for April right here. We were up $1.3 million over last year's collections in the month of April. That's almost 18% increase. You can see the city increase was over $500,000, 567,000. County 550,000 and another 208,000 over last year for the school board. So big, strong month. And of course, we're still digging out from April 15th. So there's going to be some more money to come in May as well. At this point, I'll go ahead and jump over to where that puts us quarterly. So the numbers I just showed you there are already entered here. So where we stand as of the end of April is we are $10.8 million over where we were this time last year.
Wow.
The city is up $4.5 million in collections. The county is up 4.4 million, and the school board is up 1.9, just actually a little under 2 million over where we were this time last year, and we've still got 2 more months to go. So that will be a new record. It looks like we will exceed 60 million in collections this year. And just kind of an FYI, these blue numbers down here, even if you take out the $1.9 million net profit payment, the one-time payment, the usually pretty rare payment that we do get on net profit, we'd still be up almost $9 million even without that. But we did get it in March and it's in there. So, but that puts us just under $11 million over where we were this time last year.
I mean, and we're almost through May, and I mean, I know you're doing daily deposits, and I look at those daily deposits, and things are still pretty strong. Correct, Scott?
They are. We should finish out these last 2 months very strong, and you can see we've only had 2 months in this fiscal year where we were down, and they were not really down. It was just the oddity of the filing of that one particular payroll company. So, we just kind of live with that, and we talked about that at length in prior meetings. So, but overall, I mean, it's been an incredible fiscal year for us.
And I'm sharing this information in general with our court about, when we're trying to make decisions about our budget and, not drilling down deep to exact numbers, but just talking about the trend of it being very strong, very healthy, and and we always estimate revenues on the low side anyway, just as a just as a general rule. So being conservative. So this very helpful information and very, very important to help us steer our budget.
Absolutely.
Any other comments or questions? I'll be anxious to see May and and of course June. So
Yes. For the month of April, we had 163 new accounts, and we closed 90, compared to 217 and 75 from last year. So we are running a little behind in terms of the new accounts open, but we're still averaging 118 new accounts per month for the first 4 months of this year, this calendar year. So still strong new accounts being opened, and so we'll keep an eye. See, we're competing with ourselves from last year. We'll see if we get close to or exceed that 1,400 new accounts this year. And then there's just some cumulative data. I update all these once we get these April numbers in every single month. Whatever the month is, I update these numbers. So still 118 new accounts every month is a good, strong number. And we do have a backlog on those, so that's probably not a totally accurate April. We just, can't get to all that just yet. We do it obviously the returns with money first, because we can get it in the bank, and then the ones that are losses and things, there's a process to it. So there'll probably be a good, strong number for May as well.
great.
And that's all for the general discussion.
And then thanks for that update and information. So let's look at our number 10 preliminary budget, further review and discussion. When will you ask us, Scott, to consider this for approval?
Well, that's up to you at this point. The only real change since last time, and it's really good one here. I can't believe these words are going to come out of my mouth, but our cyber security insurance policy premium went down significantly, $2,100. I never thought I'd hear those words come out of my mouth, but it did. And the coverage is all the same. I double checked with Lewis Wolf, and none, our coverages, they didn't jack up the deductibles or start excluding things. It's the same coverage we've had since 2018. But the premium actually went down. So I finally was able to update that number, and that's footnote number 17, which if you go over here, the general liability with the $3 million rider, that's the annual premium there. Public officials, we added that last year. It's now called D&O. No, it used to be called D&O. Now it's called public officials policy. The property and crime, which used to be called contents, there's that premium. And then the cyber risk went down. And then we have GECC government entity crime coverage, which used to be called a surety bond. If anybody absconded with any of the money, that coverage. So that's what makes up that total number. But the cyber premium last year we paid $29,770. This year it's $27,601. So that's a nice $2,000 decrease in the budget. The only other question at this point is the COLA. And what I did here, I sent this to Stacy. Based on last month's discussion, I know, Mayor, you said you were looking at maybe a 3 or 4% COLA. I think, Judge, you kind of said the same thing, 3 or 4%. I put the 9% in here. That was in the news graphic. The school board is, I guess, giving teachers 9%. And
It's
then
8%. Yeah,
is it 8?
it's 8. Mhm.
It's 8. Okay. And then I know, Judge, I think I saw something in the paper yesterday. You guys are maybe considering 8. So this is where we are right now. This is our total payroll with pension contributions, everything. This is where we are now. This is what I sent Stacy. So I could give you a side-by-side comparison if you want to look at some different percentages, but I was just going off what we talked about last month and what I've seen in the media. So
Scott, what we're looking at, we use the Bureau of Labor and Statistics cost of labor adjustment, and that number's been very, very consistent for us, and that number's at 5%. And when we started strategically looking at some of our medians, and we had set out to look at fire, deputy sheriff, deputy jailer, EMS, paramedic, EMT, and then also our equipment operator at the road department. We were looking at those just because we felt like those needed attention from turnover and just general feedback. Once we started, trying to adjust those medians, we looked at we were going to be adjusting over 200 employees of our 265. So one of the recommendations was an 8% across the board adjustment, and what it really comes out to be is like a 5, in my opinion, a 5% COLA with a 3% across the board median pay scale adjustment. So those are the numbers that we've been using. I don't. I'd love for Mayor Jenkins and Gina to give comment. Now, I know the school board did 8%, and it might be wise to get feedback from Superintendent Parker before. And I was going to suggest that I'd like to have his eyes and his voice before we took a vote on the budget, actually. And no offense to Gina, please don't take it that way. But you all tell me what you all think, and then we can go from there. And Scott, if we need to approve the budget before the June meeting that's scheduled for, I think it's on the bottom, 26th. It's the 26th. Like, if we had to have a special called meeting just to approve your budget to get that out of the way, I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I think Megan and Deborah, they can, make these adjustments pretty quickly. I mean, it's just 7. It's only going to impact 7 people. I mean, it's just 7 of us.
Yeah, it's not a
Right.
it's not a large number that impacts.
Yeah. So if you wanted to have some discussions with Superintendent Parker or further discussions now or whatever, and you can make that final decision in the June meeting, or like you said, have we could do a special meeting. I'll reach out to Megan and see if we waited until the 26th to do this, is that enough time to get the payroll adjusted for our staff?
I would like to know that.
Yeah, I'm thinking the answer is yes, but I'll follow up.
Yeah, on our end, we had just had Dr. Campbell come in, and we did a comp study, and what we did was with that comp study, and matter of fact, we're talking about getting it approved, where we had some compression issues, and we were trying to target it 2 things: 1, experience, and 2, actually retention, keeping our people in place, and actually being able to pay our people according to what the market showed. And with that in mind, we did a 4%, but we already have, going forward with this STEP program, a 2.5% every year step, where every time you move to it by year, you're going to get a 2.5%. So if we go and say we're going to put a 4% COLA, cost of living, on that, so actually we only have to add 1.5 to that, and it automatically matches in. So, but as for right now, I think we were looking at 4% as a total, and we made some adjustments, like I said, through our plan to make sure that our people was being paid what they should be paid, and we had to move a few people up to match what they should be paying, and so that's where we are now. And like I said, I'll give it to you all and explain a little bit more in detail how we did that, or at least get Stacy on here and she can explain how we did that. Okay.
Appreciate it. Scott, I do think it'd be great to if you could talk to Megan or Stacy, and then Mayor Jenkins and Gina. It sounds like to me be a minimum of 5% up to possibly 8%, just looking at the numbers. Is that fair to say?
Like I said, we're still at 4, and like I said,
Yeah.
we made the adjustments because. But if you look at it, if you were to take a percentage, it would probably be around, somewhere between the 5 to 8%, somewhere along that. If you put in all the things that we added and bringing people up to where they should be, and it would be about that. Yeah.
I just texted Megan and she confirmed that, yeah, if we want to finalize this June 26th, that's plenty of time for them to update our information.
Okay, so that gives us time. I just thought it'd be good to have Billy, with the budget, it'd be good to have Billy with his eyes on it. And we'll make sure that everybody can be at the 26th meeting and then have the data beforehand. But the main thing that you just shared was you had a reduction from what you had previously shared, and then the consideration of the COLA. And those are the two main things that are different from what you had previously shared.
Yes, from the last meeting, everything was pretty much already in there. We were just waiting on the insurance premiums question. Now we'll have, with KLC, they renew on 7/1, but we don't have those numbers yet. I don't anticipate them going up a whole lot, maybe even some of them coming down. I'm not sure, but so we can make that adjustment at the mid-year budget adjustment, but it'll probably be nominal. Nothing. The cybersecurity is the big one. That's the biggest premium we pay, and that one we've already resolved, and it went down to 2,100. So that's good.
Vic, appreciate that very much. Any other questions related to that?
So I guess what we're talking about is, do you want me to have, or do you want to have the discussions, or do you want me to have Stacy go ahead and put together, either a 5 or an 8, or do you want to wait till you have a firm number, just have her do it once?
Mayor, do you have any preference?
Well, I mean, Stacy pretty much knows the numbers and so on, and so and she and I have had conversations, so she can give you exactly where we're hitting with this. So I would say, Scott, just make sure you just get with Stacy, let Stacy know what we're doing. I'm sure I'll talk with Stacy and then go from there.
Yeah, because what she'll do is, once we decide what the number is, she'll calculate that and give us a new one of these, and then I'll come over here and plug it into here.
Yeah, I think she knows that we're doing. I think it's something like 4%. I'm pretty sure with that, because like I said, we've already did some additions prior to that 4% that we're adding on top.
Mayor, could you ask her, or Scott, could you ask her to do 4 and 5 just for me to see both?
Yep. I can ask Stacy to do that.
All right. Thank you.
I'll send
any
this
other
document
comments?
I'll send this document over to her at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
All right.
And then Scott, you can ask her about the doing the numbers for 4 or 5%.
Okay.
And then is there anything else there, Scott, on 10? And then our next meeting is the 26th.
Yes, the budget discussion was the last.
All right. Well, been a very good meeting. I appreciate everybody's time. If there's no other questions or comments, then is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All right. So we'll vote with pushing the leave this meeting button, and we appreciate your all's time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.